Hello everyone, and welcome to the series premiere of Star Trek Acheron, a Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition game using the rules by Modifius Entertainment. I'm ELH, your game master, and joining me are a wonderful group of people, some of which you will have noticed come from other games, others are brand new to the channel, and I'm excited to get playing with everyone. One thing I would say is that since this is a new game, if you're watching live on Twitch, do let me know if the sound is out of whack so that I can do my best to adjust for the VOD. But, if something isn't breaking every stream, are you really a streamer? If there's not scuff, is it really a stream? But I'm eager to get started, so let's do introductions, and we'll do just that. So we're going to start with Sanctum. Sanctum, just tell us who you're playing, anything you want to say in terms of a shout out, and we'll go from there.
Hello, I am Sanctum. My character is Captain Dazim Day Soldier. I am not new to Star Trek Adventures or indeed role-playing games at all, but I am new to the channel, and I'd like to say hello, and I'm very much looking forward to playing with you all.
Love it. Tigdam, what do you got going on?
Hello, my name's Sanctum Mayo. I am going to be playing Sumara. She's the Cation Augment Tactical Officer from another reality. And you can find me on YouTube if you want, or, right here, right now.
Love it. And then Nom Nom Roko, another newbie to the channel. What's going on with you?
Hi, I'm Nom, and I'm gonna be playing the assistant engineer, Aileen Vauban, a joint trill that is fairly fresh to Starfleet, more or less. And myself being fresh to Star Trek Adventures as well.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is that, as with all my games, I will be doing my best to teach just a little bit so that anybody not familiar with Star Trek Adventures can get a feel for the rules and can understand what all the dice mean when we start throwing them. But last but not least, we have Arwen. What's going on with you, Arwen?
Hey, nothing much. I'm Arwen, previously from Star Trek Aristotle and Star Trek Scylla. Happy to be here, and for this game I am playing the enigmatic civilian scientist known as Azrian.
Okay. So, since this is a relatively new campaign, we actually don't have an intro ready to go, but we'll make it work all the same. So, where we begin is a shot of the USS Acheron, a Typhoon-class battle cruiser. Now, if you've never seen a Typhoon class before, I do not blame you, because it is actually a semi-recent addition to Star Trek Online. All you really need to know about the ship is that it is as large as an Odyssey. Well, smaller-ish. It's kind of a sliding scale, but it's a Scale 7 vessel. It has very unique nacelles, and overall is usually meant to be a projection of power. And as we'll discover during play, the Acheron is not only one of the first to be made of the Typhoon class, but it is also one of the first to be specifically done as a multi-role explorer. So there's a lot of cool talents, there's a lot of cool things that go on with the ship, but we'll see it in play. So we see the USS Acheron coming into view, and what we see kind of in space off to the screen right is a white dwarf, and it is currently siphoning off some sort of nebula, sort of gaseous cloud that is sort of just being almost like a black hole's event horizon, is kind of being like pulled into the white dwarf. And overall, you're here to investigate a distress call. And at the moment, every one of you, except for Azrian, is currently on the bridge. And as you come in, the con officer, I believe their name is Sienna Yaquette. They are, I believe, an ensign. Is that correct?
I can't remember.
All right,
They
we'll
might
call
be
them
a
an ensign
lieutenant
then.
junior grade. Yeah, well, either way. Yeah.
Okay, well, Lieutenant Junior Grade, I'll make a note. So Lieutenant Junior Grade Yaquette sort of turns in their seat and goes, Captain, we have arrived at the distress call coordinates, performing a scan now. I am indeed picking up a derelict vessel with minimal life support, drifting towards the White Dwarf.
Soldier's sat and he's relaxed in his chair, very stony faced. He's a very soft spoken man, in a way that I myself can't really emulate. And he sort of squints, thinking. He turns to Tactical and says, Can we hail them?
Certainly. We can give it a go. Opening communications.
All right. So you open comms and you're greeted with the face of someone that we know are out of character, but in character, this is the first time anyone is seeing Azrian. So Azrian, what I'm going to tell you is that your ship has broken down for some reason, but what that reason is, totally your discretion.
Acheron. Wonderful. Captain Soja, right on time. This is the civilian independent research yacht SS Oculus, requesting your help.
Out of character, do we know who this is?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think so.
No.
Soldier looks at the screen. You appear to have us at disadvantage. I am indeed Captain Soldier, and this is the crew, and this is in fact the starship you have identified. Who are you, and how do you know who we are?
Oh, well, time is a funny thing. And let's just say I had a feeling that you'd be in the neighborhood, and I'm thrilled because my research into this white dwarf star seems to have gone awry. I thought everything was going to be copacetic when I pulled into orbit here, but sometimes the universe has other ideas, and it looks like my ship has taken a bit of a beating. I'd be happy to talk more about everything, but right now I'm feeling those cortisol levels rising because I don't know if you've ever been squished into a singularity before, a few atoms across, but that's not something I want to experience. So I was wondering, maybe you could jump in like those typical Starfleet heroes of legend and lend me a hand?
Tamara just raises an eyebrow, looks at the captain and goes, "Tractor beam, sir."
Lock them in.
Aye, sir.
So, in an attempt to get you some momentum here to start, I would like you to perform a control and a security. And if someone can grab the ship is assisting with a structure security. Normally it would be a difficulty of 2, but it is only a difficulty of 1 in this instance. And as you all are rolling, I'll explain for the viewers at home what the hell I just said. So basically the way Star Trek Adventures works is you take an attribute and a discipline, you push them together, you get a target number. Your goal is to roll underneath that target number on every dice that you roll. And by default, whenever you're doing a roll, you start with a pool of 2 20-sided die or 2d20. And when I say a difficulty, that's how many successes you need to succeed at a task. So when I say difficulty 1, I need to see at least 1 success on the die. And the good news is that we are using Foundry for this. Foundry does a lot of the heavy lifting for us. All right, well, I see Samara with a 3 and a 20, so that is 1 success and a complication. And then if someone could grab the Acheron's structure security, remember on an assist, the ship always has the focus, and they only roll the 1 die.
Okay, I will roll using focus. Yes. Single dice. Go for it.
All right, another success, which means you have 2 successes. That is 1 more than is needed. So you now get the player current meta currency known as momentum. And once again, I'll explain when it becomes relevant. But again, for anybody new watching at home, momentum is basically something that the players can use at any time to increase their dice pools, to do cool effects. There's a lot of things you can do with momentum, but I'll explain it when it's relevant to play. So, Samara, you lock on a tractor beam and you begin bringing in the Oculus. Is it the Oculus? Am I saying that right, Arwen?
That's correct. Yeah.
Cool. So you begin bringing in the Oculus. However, as we saw in chat, there is a complication. And a complication is just a fun way of saying the GM makes your life more difficult. So what's going to happen is you begin bringing in the Oculus towards the shuttle bay on the underside of the saucer of the Acheron. But all of a sudden, there's a subtle wave of energy, almost like an ion storm, that hits the ship. And instead of coming into the shuttle bay, the Oculus bounces off the hull plating to the left of the shuttle bay door, leaving a very nice mark.
Not the smoothest of rescues, but I'm grateful.
It appears there was an energy discharge, I presume, from the star by these readings. That's not good. We should keep an eye out for those, Captain.
And since chat has already redeemed a complication, let me see. The science officer, who I don't think we've named the science officer, have we? Well, guess what? His name is now Lieutenant Tim. Congratulations, Tim. You've come into another game. So Lieutenant Tim turns and says, Captain, I'm detecting a very turbulent burst of energy coming from the star. I recommend full shields.
Shields up, yellow alert.
All right. And not a moment too soon, because the instant the shields go up, there is a massive jolt where the inertial dampeners would throw you across the bridge. Stereotypical Star Trek shimmy, as we all know. But the ion storm, the ion blast, causes power conduits across the ship to disrupt, burst, and otherwise cause power to fluctuate. And as you all are sort of setting yourselves, picking yourselves up, looking at your consoles, that's when I'm actually going to direct our attention to Lieutenant Valbon. And Valbon, am I saying that right, by the way?
Vauban.
Vauban, got it.
Vauban.
Vauban, you are picking yourself up because you're sort of filling in for the ops manager at the moment. And you're seeing that, things aren't good across the ship. But I'm going to let you decide what that means.
Oh God. Let's see. So Vauban is a bit nervous, new posting and all, and she turns to Captain Soldier and is like, "Sir, the power system, the plasma conduits, they are very much short. Through all the ships, we got multiple failures on deck 2, 3, and 10.
Soldier's eyes narrow, almost in a sense of, God, I've only had this shit for 2 seconds kind of feeling that sort of runs through him. And he sort of turns to the ensign, the lieutenant at Con, and says, "Can you take us out to a safe distance?"
And the helm officer taps at the console and goes, "Sir, I unfortunately don't have enough power on impulse. I have thrusters only."
He's a very calm man, so he doesn't lose. He's about as annoyed as he can be, but you wouldn't really notice it. He's just a very sort of placid-looking individual, even though below the surface is probably a raging storm of annoyance. And he just sort of looks at Vauban and says, "Can we get engineering to restore power? This is the top priority. We need power to those impulse engines."
Yes, sir, I think so. I believe we can reroute some of the power through auxiliary systems and get some back. I'm sure I can fix it. Let me see. And she fidgets and messes with her sleeves a little bit before getting herself back in order and checking the screens.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So, important question. Are you doing the rerouting yourself or are you delegating?
I think I would be doing that myself because the whole plasma power systems is actually one of my specialties.
Okay. In that case, why don't we say that this is going to be a control and an engineering? And the difficulty on this will be a 2, but as you've pointed out, you have a focus in electroplasma power systems. And again, for the people at home, a focus basically just increases the critical success range. In Star Trek Adventures, lower numbers are good. A1 is actually a critical success, which is counted as 2 successes. And as we saw earlier, A20 is a complication. So at the moment, the critical range for our good engineer is actually a 5 or lower in this instance.
Can I assist?
If you tell me how.
By recommending to the captain that we turn the ship face away from the wave so we're not side onto it. So there's less impact when another wave hits.
All
We
right,
don't have
I like
power
it.
to impulse engines.
For you,
We have thrusters,
Samara,
don't we?
let me see. For you, Samara, why don't you give me a presence security assist? And remember, on an assist, it's just the 1 die. And actually, you also have a focus of team dynamics. So there you go. So that would actually be a crit.
So it was control engineering, right?
Correct.
With using a focus.
Correct. All right, well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that you rolled 3 successes, so you actually get a momentum back from that. The only problem, though, is that there is another complication. So you're doing your best to reroute the power, and you're doing your best to try to get impulse back for the captain and the Holmes officer. And you do, but you also now run into the problem of now there's not enough energy to generate a warp bubble, where it's kind of one of those things where you have just enough energy in order to start moving away, but you also don't have enough to really get out of dodge, if you see what I'm saying. And because I have 8 threat being the GM meta currency, I'm going to spend 2 of it to say that you actually only have 1/4 impulse. So you're moving, but you're not moving fast.
Soji takes a very deep breath and then collects himself. He stands up and he goes over to the ops station and sort of tries to present a reassuring presence to the young Trill. And he sort of leans in and says, "Look, you've got this. We need to get the systems back up. I know this is a new ship. This is a bit of a shakedown voyage. But if we lose the ship on the first day out, I'm going to be very unhappy."
Yeah, I believe that wouldn't look very good on my record, sir.
So do what you can. He turns around and just looks to everybody. I need some solutions.
For the moment, now that we're facing away from the anomaly, so I can turn off the other shield grids, and only have the aft shields online. That will give us additional power. However, we do need a little bit of a margin in case we get turned by a wave.
Get right on it.
Aye,
Anybody
sir?
else? Come on,
Then,
solutions.
actually, Yaket, the con officer, is going to speak up and go, Sir, it occurs to me that if this is what disabled that, I believe they were an Elurian, I think, if sensors were correct. If it disabled their ship, we might be able to gain more information from them about what we're experiencing.
Excellent. He taps his comm badge and just contacts the security chief.
Samara's right there.
The other security chief, her subordinate, and asked them to bring up our new visitor to the meeting room, and we'll have a debrief. And he just turns around to everybody. Right, senior officers, I want you in the briefing room as soon as this new individual arrives, and we can all welcome him aboard.
Just as you say that, you're told that I'm already in the turbo lift up to the bridge. And then I step out onto the bridge.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, dramatic reveal. You just literally step out onto the bridge.
Oh.
Hello, Captain. Permission to enter the bridge. That's what you ask, right? That's customary?
Permission granted. If you wouldn't mind going through this door, and he indicates to where the briefing room would be. And he sort of looks at the senior officers and sort of like nods in the right direction, and then sort of storms out.
Samara just watches everybody leave, and then as their relief comes, she just mentions in her ear, "Found out how he got to the bridge so quickly, will you?" And then proceeds to follow everybody else. He's a civilian. He shouldn't have been able to get that quickly. She is not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, Aileen just kind of looks around and realizes, oh well, that means her as well, so she comes along.
As for Azrian's part, he is wearing long, flowing, bohemian-looking robes, and he is graceful and regal and very well contained in terms of his emotions and his presence. And he simply almost glides through the doors effortlessly, like he's been here his entire life.
Noted. All right, so we go to the Acheron's conference room. And since this is a brand new ship, we have never seen the interior of a Typhoon class, I'm going to crowdsource, and I'm going to ask, what does this conference room look like?
I imagine that it's not too dissimilar in design to the TNG Galaxy class sort of conference room, in that there's a big screen that dominates a giant table, and there's lots of chairs around it. But with it being a much more modern ship than that, it looks probably more well appointed in that the seats are all like fine leather.
Okay. And then since the Acheron is one of the first ships of the line, there's not like the little ship models. But what interesting non-standard bit of furniture decoration is in the conference room?
Samara's slightly larger chair because she's almost 7 foot tall, which is big for most species, let alone occasion. So she's got her own chair.
Got her own chair. Okay. Is it to the captain's left or the captain's right?
She's the right hand of the captain.
Okay, to the right. All right, and then one final thing, and I want to hear from Nom Nom or Arwen on this one. What is the replicator already replicating as you walk in? As in, some special feature of the Acheron's conference room automatically makes something like coffee or biscuits. What is the replicator automatically making in anticipating a meeting?
I'm going to say Ractigino.
Ractigino. Double strong, extra sweet?
Double strong, extra sweet.
Double strong, extra sweet. So yeah, you all walk in, and the replicator actually has something a little bit fancy where there's little grav emitters on the bottom of the tray of coffee, and it automatically sort of floats out of the replicator to the center of the conference table, sets the coffee down, and then the tray sort of floats back to the replicator.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. There appears to be quite a lot of features to this ship that I wasn't appraised of, he says as he sits down in the principal chair.
Oh, is that not normal for normal Starfleet ships?
No, it's not at all. We have a really new ship, and Aileen is basically just vibrating as she sits down. It's really it's supposed to help with efficiency as well.
Samara is more confused as to why anybody is surprised at this. This is perfectly normal.
Anyway, Mr. Asrian, is that how I address you?
Oh, Azrian is fine. That's what you can call me. Yes.
Right. Please take a seat.
Thank you. And he'll motion to a seat and just sit down in it, close to the captain.
Soldier looks everybody. Please, by all means, everybody here, help yourself to any of the replicator while we're having this meeting. I have no issue with you going about your own business while we have this discussion. So, Mr. Asrian, please elaborate. How do you know we were coming here?
Well, sometimes my people get visions. Some of my people, not all of us. And I had a vision. I'm not sure what happened. I think it may be the proximity to this stellar core remnant. But I just had this sense of calm that Starfleet was going to rescue me yet again. The universe is a weird thing, the way it works. Time, space, energy.
Indeed. She's just... Her face is smiling, but her eyes aren't, and she hasn't left... Her eyes are not leaving Asrian at all. She hasn't left a seat, no drink. She's watching him like a hawk.
Mm. Adrian looks completely comfortable. Thank you for the rescue. I haven't had a chance to thank you for the rescue. Thank you very much.
We're Starfleet, that's what we do.
Yes, I'm familiar. Although you're quite far from home, out here at the border between the, what you call it, the Delta and the Gamma Quadrants?
Soldier's eyes narrow, and he studies Asrian, trying to get a read on his sense of character or whether he's misleading. But he gets nothing because he can see straight away just how composed and just unaffected by the environment Asrian is. It's like almost like he's expecting this to happen, or it's already happened to him, and he's just going through the motions. Soldier just sort of looks around and considers for a moment. What were you doing out here?
What I've been doing for a very long time. Listening to the universe. Hearing what she has to say. Learning from her. Studying. I've been in this region for a very long time.
Could you put that into star dates?
I think so. Yes. I may have estimated myself there.
You're good. About how long are we talking? Like 10 years, 20 years, more or less?
I'd say like 30 or 40 years.
Okay. So
So about whatever the equivalent star date that is.
Mm-hmm.
And Aileen just kind of she tried to take a sip and then coughs from the time. Just
How long have you been out here, if you don't mind me asking?
Soldier considers just how much of a security breach that would be to reveal that information. Well, let's say that we have been here for a very small amount of time, especially compared to your number of years. Have you been on your own for all that time?
More or less. I have my computer, my ship's computer, to keep me company. And I meet interesting people and creatures along the way. Captain, this area is quite unique in terms of its spatial characteristics from what you may have experienced before. And I certainly would like to make myself useful while I'm getting my ship back in operation, which I estimate could be some time. And I'd like to. Maybe my knowledge could help you of the systems around here.
I propose a trade. Can you give us the data that you've collected on this particular system in return for my engineers restoring your ship to power?
Oh, that's incredibly kind of you. Captain, I'm sorry, I forget myself sometimes. Like I said, it's just the computer and and the universe, of course, as company. I recognize that I'm new on your ship from your perspective, and I need to earn trust. That makes perfect sense. I don't have any illusions that you're going to immediately trust me, but I mean no harm. I'm just I like to think of myself as a benevolent force in the universe, just trying to do good where I can and learn what I can. So if I can be of any help in that way, I will. Once I get my computers back online, I'll be happy to transfer the information I have. The Oculus is actually it's a pretty well designed, if not old, science vessel, which just a cursory look at your ship. Maybe our two ships can complement each other.
Soldier thinks for a few moments. I'm assuming that your systems were knocked out by an energy wave similar to the one that knocked out ours.
Yes. Unfortunately, I just was not quick enough to anticipate it. I'm usually better at this, but we can't always succeed. That is part of the humility that we must all have. Sometimes we make mistakes. So, and learn from them, hopefully. And this is a big one to learn from. My ship is pretty beaten up right now.
And as if almost to highlight the fact that you're in a very dangerous system, there's another rock of the ship. Not as violent as the first two times, but it is something where you still have to cling to the armrest of your chair, and the Ractigino on the conference room table shudders a little bit. But it does highlight that you are very much in a precarious position at the moment.
That was probably the result of high energy electrons being dispatched from the stellar core fragment. That makes up the core of the white dwarf.
If our ship were a little older, we might actually be getting along better with this. I think our newer shields might be interacting a little bit, but if we take them down, we're going to be in trouble.
I'd be happy to help you navigate away from here.
If you've been here for some 30 to 40 years, how have you navigated this problem?
Oh, my ship has pretty advanced astrometrics abilities, and I have some experience in that. I'm a I'm a quick study in a number of disciplines, stellar sciences related disciplines, as well as exobiology. I'm a big fan of studying cosmozoans, which there are many in this system. And there's
There
also
are.
some interesting surprises too. Oh yes.
Don't mind me, I'm just rolling dice. Carry on.
He turns to Lieutenant Vauban. Do you think we could rig up some kind of solar sail to harness the electrons that are being emitted and perhaps use the waves to surf out of the system or away from the immediate emanations?
I mean, that could be one solution to our problem. Either way, I'm not sure we can get our warp engines online at the moment, but I'm thinking if we use both ships together, maybe to create some sort of resonance between them, as was suggested, that our shields may be the problem. Maybe if we sort of create a correct resonance between the shields and, well, the electrons, then yeah, maybe we can either create a sail to ride on or negate them completely, I believe.
Well, only our aft shields are online at the moment, so if we do need to manipulate them, the rest of the shield generators are free. We could also, I suppose, if you can create this resonance, any additional energy could be pushed through the nacelles. And maybe outside the collectors, maybe they will collect the energy rather than have it dissipate along the hull.
Yes, that might be a good plan. Yes, we can do that.
What an intriguing idea, Lieutenant. You know, I had some experience once working on a Bajoran lightship. They used solar sail technology. Maybe if we can get your shield resonance pliable enough, it may be able to generate some thrust by reflecting these high energy electrons from the dwarf, and we might even be able to steer a little bit too, using some thruster power.
Soldier steeples his fingers with his elbows on the desk and thinks for a moment. And he looks pointedly at Vauban and says, assemble a team. Use one of the modular labs and take Azrian and the commander with you. Work together and provide me with a solution. I need something within the next hour.
Aileen stands up and salutes and bumps the chair behind her, saying, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir."
Everybody
Aye,
else
Captain.
to your posts. And he gets up and returns to the bridge.
All right. So one of
follow.
the actual beautiful parts of the Acheron is that you do actually have modular laboratories, which means that you can essentially just spin up a laboratory once per mission for free. So I'm assuming you want something along the lines of like shield harmonics and some kind of a combination of astrometrics. Is that correct?
I think that would be ideal. Yes.
Okay. So what that'll then mean is that because you have this laboratory, it actually will reduce the difficulty of all tasks by 1, as you are related to that field of study. And when I give you a difficulty, I will have already taken that into account.
Okay.
But yeah, as you all hop in a turbolift and emerge into this laboratory, once again, giving power to the players, what does the laboratory actually look like? Is it, your stereotypical, science lab setup? Is there some sort of special equipment in here? What does it look like?
No, one thing it does certainly have is holographic emitters because, well, we have them at this time and they're just so convenient.
Okay. Yeah, holo emitters, I got it. Anybody else want to chip in?
I'd like to
I
think
think
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
on.
No,
was just
Soja, please.
going to say that there is a massive replicator platform that you can just basically spin up any tool or large scale machine that you might need within a matter of seconds.
Okay, so not quite an industrial replicator, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Arwen, what were you going to add?
Oh, I'm going to take it back. This isn't really my ship yet, so I'm going to keep my
Fair
mouth
enough.
shut.
Fair enough. All right, well, you walk in, and it occurs to me that we might be doing things out of order because we kind of need to fix a certain person's ship first. Well, you tell me. You're the players. It's your show. Would you rather work on the solar sail first, or would you rather get the Oculus back up and running first?
We can assign a engineering crew to repair the ship, and as and when that's repaired, we can just jump to the ship.
Okay.
Just move scene.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea. And one of the beautiful parts about Star Trek Adventures is you can just sort of spin up supporting characters or NPCs, and it basically ticks across the ship's crew support. I am just going to say that we're not normally going to be keeping track of crew support simply because I've never, ever, ever run out of crew support on a ship before. But for anybody who does want to see the rules, we will be going to a crew support of 4 from 7 to represent the engineering team working on the Oculus.
Cool.
So the Oculus is, I probably should brief your very helpful security or engineering teams. I have my own way of doing things on the Oculus, and let's just say it might be different than Starfleet standard, the way I have things set up.
We do a jump cut to some engineer walking into the engine room, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that gives me like the vision of like wires running across random directions. There's duct tape on one thing, and then a EPS conduit is mounted at a 33-degree angle for some reason. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, some of the controls they're not all in the same language. The computer is pretty snarky. We can talk about the ship's computer some other time. Yeah, it's unique. There's runes everywhere. I have a system. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. So this jump cut to the engine room, we see the engineers walk in, and the Tellarite in the lead is like, oh, for the love of God, why? Why is that EPS conduit at the angle? That is not efficient. No, this is wrong. I will be fixing this. I don't know what accent that is, but that's his new accent. Congratulations, engineer number 2. But
it was like Hunt for Red October, Sean Connery, and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I was combining 2 accents. I didn't know what was coming out of my mouth, but as long as people understood, sure.
He's right. He needs to stay. He needs a name.
God, I gotta give him a name now. All right, well, while I'm thinking of a name, let's go smash cut back to the laboratory.
And that's perfectly understandable that everyone has their preferences, right?
Oh, of course. I like what you've done here. Is that a Sigma 9 cipher you're using? That's inventive.
I just imagine that stunned silence is, of course, in character.
Yeah, let's so how do we go about getting increasing the pliability of the shield generators so that the geometry of the shields can change depending on how the direction we need the ship to go, just like a solar sail would.
Well, I think we'll have to change the amplitude. More modern shields are designed to stick closer to the hull to save energy and increase their power. The older style shields were more circular, so we're going to have to downgrade some of the software.
Is that
Yes.
possible, Lieutenant Vauban?
Yeah, I think so. If we could take some elements out that usually, well, make everything a bit more smooth, if you get what I mean. And
Yes. Yeah. I
Just
should
remember, if you break it, we either die or you're putting it back together.
That's a
So
great motivator. Do it right or we die.
That's true. I think, Lieutenant Vauban, I think it would make sense for me to direct your engineering teams to at least get my scientific navigational array online on my ship first, so that my ship can run the necessary calculations, and then at least get our warp drive working so that we can add power to your battery systems. Is that what you're
yes,
thinking?
I mean, I was thinking, since you said your ship is older, right? So if we take the data from your shields, maybe, and connect both our ships together, we could copy your readings to the Archeon and have it create the bubble based on what your readings are, I believe.
Oh, that's what you were saying. Yes, what an interesting idea.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I'm sorry.
No, that the fault is mine. I did not ask follow-up questions. I I think that's a great idea. I will get my computer working on that, my ship's computer working on that, and we will basically copy and paste the code, uh, if and put it into a system and I will send it to a system, the Rex to a system that you tell me to send it to.
Yes, we may
I'll,
have to create an actual physical connection between the ships, but I'm sure we can handle that.
so that squat little Tellarite with the shifting accent, I think he's probably going to be very helpful with that. I
Yes.
already saw him dragging an EDS. What were they called? The cables, the power cables. Shit, I remember. I forget
APS
what.
cable?
EPS, an EPS conduit, an EPS cable to my ship.
And
I
while
feel
they're
like
saying that,
I gotta name the Tellarite Shifty now because that's his accent. So he's Lieutenant Shifty. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
No, you're all right.
So with your permission, I'll get back to my ship and I'll get started on that.
Certainly. You'll excuse. There's a security officer outside. They can guide you from here to your ship.
Of course, Commander. That I will abide by whatever security precautions you put forth. Okay.
Glad to hear it.
All right. So
And the
let's
moment
start
he-
talking. Let's start talking some roles here. Now, normally, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I am going to highlight a talent that Vauban has, specifically unconventional thinking. Now, normally what this talent does is it reduces the difficulty of a task when you are thinking outside of the box. But as it says there, normally I'm not supposed to tell you, but I am going to for this instance. So, what you're looking at was a difficulty of 5. You have the modular laboratories. It comes down to a 4. You are using unconventional thinking, brings it down to a difficulty of 3. Vauban, if you take the lead here, it is a reason engineering. Samara, if you take the lead, it is a reason security. And you can assist one another on this, or you can get an assist from the ship. Though you only get one source of an assist here.
What would the ship be using?
The ship would be using probably a computers and security here.
Okay.
It's probably better if Aline goes with the Acheron supporting. My reason is quite low.
Sure. Sure, we can do that.
All right. So yeah, let's take a look at your focuses and your talents, because I've been looking at your sheet for a while. Let me see. Rocks to replicators. Well, unless you literally want to rip out something and just make something out of nothing, I don't think rocks to replicators will help you here.
No, not
let's
with
take-
the manufacturing thing right there.
Right, that was my thinking as well. So there is something you can do here, is that you do have pass the red line as a talent. And basically what this means is if you get an assist from the ship, which you are, you can actually elect to increase the complication range by a variable amount. And if you succeed on this task, you actually get that bonus momentum based on how much your complication range changed. Now, I will warn you that the Acheron, as an experimental vessel, already has a complication range of 18 to 20 on everything that it does. So you could get up to 3 bonus dice here, but you would be at a complication range of maximum or 16 to 20.
Maybe that's a bit dangerous right at the start.
No, live a little, have fun.
True, true. I was looking at the talent while you were talking, actually, before you even mentioned it.
May I suggest that you reduce or increase the complication by 1, and then you can spend the 2 momentum that we have for 2 bonus dice.
Sure.
And of course, the ship will help with its computer's security. So I've got that ready to roll.
One small note is that the red line momentum comes after the roll.
Right.
So if you did want to roll 4 dice there, Vauban, it would be 2 momentum, 1 threat, or 2 threat, 1 momentum, or 3 threat.
Mm-hmm.
We don't mind if you take a point of threat.
Yeah.
Okay. So go down to 0 momentum, and I'll get a threat.
So that means
4 dice.
4 dice, exactly. And the complication range is still at 20.
For you, at least, yes. The ship
For me.
is dependent on how much you want to pass the red line here.
Okay, so it goes on the ship roll.
Correct.
Got it. Am I using a focus?
Let's take a look. Let me see. I mean, technically, you've got reverse engineering. You have manufacturing. There's a few focuses that could apply here.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, solar sail is ancient technology, so
Yeah, I guess. So
Let's
Yeah.
take the complication range down to 16.
Go for it.
I believe.
What's the worst that could happen?
Triple complications. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
Tribbles,
well,
tribbles could happen.
every complication's an opportunity.
Mhm.
Right. I'm ready to roll for the ship.
got it.
Wow, that is already 8 total successes. Wow.
Boom.
So that is 5 total momentum coming back. And on top of that 5 momentum, you have 3 bonus momentum sitting there that has to be used or it goes away. So for the people at home and for people who are playing 2nd edition for the first few times, let me explain what you can do with that bonus momentum. So one of the easiest things you can do is use a momentum to ask questions about the situation. Another example is that you could spend 2 momentum to create what is known as a trait. And this trait, much like the laboratories, usually makes a roll more easier or even possible in the future. So what I will tell you, Vauban, is that with your study of the Acheron's shield dynamics, and with the study of what little you know of the Oculus's shield grid, you're 99% sure that you have done the work, that all you need to do is plug things in, push a button, and it'll work.
Sounds easy enough.
Now the question is, what do you do with that 3 bonus momentum?
Can we create a trait of solar maneuverability?
Run that by me again, because I think I heard it correctly, but I want to make sure I did.
Solar maneuverability.
Okay, yeah, I did hear it right. So, if I understand your intention, you basically want to be not obviously like an F1 Formula racer, but you still want there to be some form of like speed and nimbility.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that with the pulses, because we're so well angled and familiar with what's happening, that we can actually use that to our advantage. I don't know, by superpowering the impulses or the warp nacelles or something.
Yeah, and it's into a surfboard. We're surfing the waves.
I like it. Yeah. So what I've done in Foundry is I've gone ahead and added solar maneuverability as a trait. If you ever need to see where that is, it's in the top left of Foundry. But that is 2 momentum of the bonus momentum gone. There's still 1 bonus momentum remaining.
By all means, somebody ask a question.
Well, if you need another use for it, what I can say is that you can spend the 1 bonus momentum to reduce the amount of time it took you to do this. So, Vauban, if you really want to seem like a miracle worker, you could do this in half the time.
I mean, considering that we may die if we fall into that star, that might be good.
Okay. So in the
did have
span
a
of
question.
about... Oh. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, go on.
Okay. All I was going to say then is instead of it being a 30-minute ordeal, your good Trill engineer manages to have a solution in 15 minutes.
Unless you think if a question may be more useful.
No. That's very good.
Yeah.
I'm just giving the people the room to play without me just shouting over everybody all the time.
But as you're working, let's do a jump cut to Lieutenant Shifty and his shifting accents. So, Azrian, you've returned to your ship, and Lieutenant Shifty's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand anything that's going on here. My accent is so incoherent because I'm so furious and enraged. I mean, look at that EPS conduit. It loops back in on itself. It doesn't do anything. What were you thinking when you installed this travesty to engineering?
I was adapting to the situation that I was in at the moment.
But it is not connected to anything. It
Not
literally
now.
is a glorified lava lamp.
May I suggest, Lieutenant Shifty, an old adage: relax, nothing is under your control.
Oh, that's very bad. You don't understand. There needs to be control. There needs to be a sense of order. And if there's not order, we must fix it, because if there is not order, there's chaos, and there cannot be chaos in engineering.
I'm so sorry. I did not anticipate the extent to which your parental units have made you this anxious. You know what? I'm going to help you. And we're going to get through this together, okay? I am going to lean on your expertise, and I would recommend or suggest that you ask me as we go through getting these connections together how I laid things out. And just maybe do it non-judgmentally. And we'll get through this faster.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing over here. Just immediately going for, like, hey, I know your parents were shit, but we're gonna work past this.
It adds character.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to practice Shifty's accent off stream now because he's gonna be a recurring character. Oh no. All right. Well, Azrian, if you want to give me a presence engineering, and I guess since I'm piloting Lieutenant Shifty, I'll do a roll for him. It's only a difficulty of 1, but you take the lead here, Azrian, and I think you have a focus in small craft and unconventional thinking here.
Yes. And you said the difficulty was 1?
Just a 1, yeah.
All right. And I got to focus. Let's see how this goes.
All right, already 2 successes. Let's see if Shifty gets you anything more. Shifty actually gets you another momentum, which means you're capped at 6, and you have 1 floating momentum that is either spent or is gone away. But narratively, what happens is, Azrian, you of course direct the engineers, including Shifty, to help get your computer back online and begin getting the shield data back to Valbon. And in the process, what you discover is something very important about the system you're in. And Azrian, you're looking at the data, and what occurs to you is that if the white dwarf, the neutron star, whatever you'd care to call it, the stellar core fragment, if it consumes the nebula, which it is about 98% already done, if it finishes consuming the nebula, it might reach a supercritical state. And that's probably why there's a lot of ion turbulence coming off of it, because it's getting to that point where the balloon's going to pop, if you get my meaning.
All right. So refresh my memory. We can use 1 momentum would be good for an obtain information spend.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And okay, so how much time I'm going to, if everyone's okay with this, I'd like to spend it on asking a question. How much time do we have before we reach critical mass?
You have 1 hour.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
Shifty, you've been so helpful here.
I think I'm going to have an aneurysm. I'm talking like an old engineer now. My accent is so inconsistent. You are not understanding how much stress you are putting me under.
Okay. Have you considered the possibility that you are the one putting yourself under that stress?
He doesn't have an answer for that. He just looks at you
All right.
like, what?
You know what? We're going to have tea sometime in the future, and we're going to talk about this. But right now, we only have an hour. We have a whole hour before this system goes to critical mass. So that means you have plenty of time to get back to your station. But before you do that, could you show me how to connect to the comm system so that I can talk to the captain?
He just taps his comm badge and motions for you to speak into it.
Azrian to Captain Soja.
Soja?
Captain, according to the equipment I have on the Oculus, the astrometrics equipment, I have an explanation for why this vicinity is so highly ionized charged.
Proceed.
It looks like the consumption of the nebula is almost at completion, and the mass of the stellar core fragment is approaching its critical maximum of 9 solar masses, which means, in layman's terms, that we have a whole hour to get out of the system before the stellar core fragment reaches critical mass and transforms to its next stage of development, which would be highly explosive.
We have a saying in my culture, which is That's less than ideal.
It is what it is, Captain.
Obviously,
I
the
have.
translator's just translated that to English, so it just sounded like that's just what he said. But obviously, it's much more profound in the original Trill language.
You'll have to teach me that sometimes, Captain Soja. In the meantime, I just want to let you know I have faith in you, and I have faith in your crew, and I know that you will get us out of this.
I want to pause here and just congratulate the fact that Arwen has once again become the counselor of the crew without even meaning to be the counselor. I just want to congratulate you on that role. Just well done.
Have I done that before? I didn't even
You
recognize
did it in
that.
Aristotle.
Oh, I did. Well,
Mhm.
communications officer.
Yeah.
Good at.
No, I'm not saying
good
it's a
at
bad
chatting
thing.
to
It's just
people.
it's funny how when you play Star Trek Adventures enough, you sort of fall into an archetype, and it's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. I just noticed it. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Shifty holds up the EPS conduit line and basically asks where the heck he's supposed to, plug it in, and you show him some terrible, like it's behind that canister, and you have to get it in at a 45-degree angle. It causes Shifty to have an aneurysm physically.
Yeah. Have you ever, Shifty? Have you ever worked on a Vulcan ship?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about it in terms of the fact that this ship has a retractable coleopteric warp drive.
Well, why
So
didn't you say that from the beginning? If I had known that from the beginning, we would have been able to save so much time. I was thinking you were just idiot.
Well, that was then. This is now. But the architecture is similar to a Vulcan warp drive.
Well, now
Warp
this makes
core.
so much more sense to me. Oh, okay, my accent
Okay.
is starting to become a tangible thing again. That means my stress levels have gone down. All right, yes, I
That's
understand what is going
wonderful.
on.
I'm so glad to hear that. So you're going to plug it in here at the 45-degree angle.
Yes, it's still a very stupid connecting angle, but we'll make it work. And he plugs it in. And
Thank you for your expertise.
jump cut back to the science lab where Vauban and Samara are. You are getting a sort of line from the ship's computer telling you that you have access to the Oculus's shield grid at your discretion.
That's great. Do we know
Are we
about
ready?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, do we know about the 1 hour limit already, or?
We'll say for sake of ease that the hour limit becomes very known very quickly.
Are you ready, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Well, good. You did that rather efficiently. Congratulations. Samara to Captain.
Hi.
Soldier,
We're ready down here.
proceed.
You heard the Captain. Execute.
All right. So I am going to break this roll down again because there are some things at play. So normally, this sort of task would be impossible. But because you have succeeded so well, and because you have a laboratory specifically made for this, the roll becomes possible. It was a difficulty of 5, but once again, since this is unconventional thinking, just know that I'm not going to tell you it's unconventional thinking in future sessions, but it was a difficulty 5. It now comes down to a difficulty of 4. And Vauban, this is going to be a daring engineering. The ship will assist you with a structure and engineering. And the difficulty, as I said, will be a 4. You have 6 momentum. You also have determination if you really want to set yourself up for success to start.
Okay. Yeah. And would I be using a focus here as well? Or
Multiple again, yes.
multiple again. Okay. And the rest stays as it is.
More or less, yeah. So it's just how many die do you want to roll here is the question. And do you want to use your determination, if at all? Because remember, determination can either get you 2 free successes to start, or after the roll, it can be used for a reroll.
Can I just quickly interject? Could I direct this action using my captain's?
Yeah, your captain's ability. And I think that, yeah, you have crisis management, which means you don't have to actually pay the momentum cost to do it. So, yes, you would be, Soja, you'd be able to assist with a presence and command in this case. And I would give you composure as a focus here.
Oh, excellent. Yes, right. Let's definitely do that then. Okay, cool. I will give a rousing speech to the young Trill, telling her I have every faith in her abilities.
It's successful, I would say.
Yeah, that's 1 success. I need to see 3 more.
I use 1 determination, right?
Well, if you want to use determination, it would give you 2 successes to start. And you would just have to tell me what value applies to the situation.
I mean, I would say every problem has a solution
Sure, I'll take
in
it.
this case. And yeah. And
Right.
I think also that nothing is beyond repair also fits in this case.
Yeah, I like it. So when you do the dice roll, just make sure you are checking use determination value, and Foundry will handle the rest for you.
Got it.
And then the question
it's
is, do you
2
want
dice.
additional dice?
Definitely take. You can for me, you can take all of the momentum. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Yeah, take it.
Okay.
Sounds like you're being told to for the beans, so 5 dice.
5 dice this. And we roll.
All right, that is 9 total successes. Well done. So you actually managed to get back a significant amount of momentum. In fact, I believe you're up to 4 by my count. I might be off by 1, but you at least have 4. And Vauban, what does it look like from the exterior? What does it look like when the shield kicks on? Is it like a bubble that forms around the ship that sort of starts to collect the ions? Is it something where like an actual solar sail type thing is projected from the hull? What does it look like when you pull this off?
I mean, earlier it was described that we have our aft shields that are functioning behind the engines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically the shields, they collect themselves into a sort of energy grid at the back of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So like semi-translucent kind of energy plane. And since it's at the back, it basically starts looking like the ship is moonwalking backwards slowly with the energy that's getting collected, I would say.
I like it. I like it. So you are beginning to move at a much more rapid rate when I actually am going to spend 2 threat to make the complication that the stellar implosion happens sooner than you were hoping. So what that means is another violent wave emanates out from the ion store, or from the white dwarf. And because light travels faster than gravity, at least I think, I might be wrong on that, but because light travels faster than gravity, at least in this instance, you are able to tell that the sun, for lack of a better term, is now become a miniature supernova. Now, it's going to take time for the blast wave to hit you, but yeah, you need to get the heck out of Dodge.
Red alert.
Aye, sir. All hands, brace for impact.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I would say is that there is a mechanic known as reserve power in second edition. And what reserve power is used for in second edition is a large variety of things, but what you can do is actually attempt a warp jump or a jump to warp with reserve power. Now, what that would entail is when adding up all the difficulties and adding up all the complication range, that would be our supporting characters control and con. It would be at a difficulty of 3, and the ship would assist with an engines con. But if you pull this off, you're home free.
I've got the ship.
And then why don't we have the captain roll Yaket? Because I don't think Yaket's actually had a roll yet. All right. Well, the Acheron's already got an assist. Well done there. And then Yaket is once again doing a control and a con.
Control and con. Okay. They've got the focus of precision maneuvering and multitasking. Are either of those relevant?
They would, and actually, as I remind myself, you have solar maneuverability. The difficulty comes down to a 2.
Excellent. Can we spend 3 points of momentum to add 2 dice, please?
Sure.
Okay, right, here we go. Hold on tight.
Well,
Oh no.
I have good news and I have bad news. Which would you like first?
Can we have the good news?
The good news is that you do succeed and you are able to make a warp jump, which I'll explain in the narrative, but something unexpected happens. And what I mean by that is Vauban's interesting solar sail technique. What it looks like is the ions start to build up around the nacelles, and it starts to cause the normal red and blue of the nacelles and the Bassard collectors. They actually begin to turn more of a green and more of a purple. And when the helm officer hits it and jumps to warp, it's not that blue streak. It's not that flash of white light that we see in TNG. It's actually more of a prismatic explosion of color as you warp away from the system. And it's a short warp jump, all things considered. Like you go just far enough that you're not going to be at risk of getting hit by the miniature explosion. But when you drop out of warp, you don't actually drop out of warp. In fact, and this is something Azrian I think you would recognize, you're looking at a field of bluish white lights that are just sort of moving and sort of form these little interconnected webs, and sort of looks, for lack of a better term, like the mycelial network. But you only see this for about 10 seconds before the ship lurches, throws everybody out of their seat, and you emerge back into normal space.
Soldier picks himself back up again and climbs back into his seat and goes, tactical. Sit rep.
No apparent damage, sir. However, we did seem to come into some sort of unknown... Hang on, one moment, sir.
Captain, it's called a planar shift, is what happened. We temporarily shifted dimensions, which is incredibly exciting. I cannot wait to see your sensor data.
As you said, sir.
Exciting is not the word that I would utilize. No.
I know.
Where are we?
Unknown at present.
And your comm officer, she looks at the data. She does that Cardassian thing where she goes, that's not right. She runs another scan. Well, sir, I am delighted to report that we're not as far out as Voyager, but we're pretty far out, sir.
Put that into real terms for me, please.
At maximum warp, we're looking at about a 3-year journey.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's less than ideal.
Well, I'm
You
still...
use that phrase a lot, Captain.
Sir, with all due respect, I'm still trying to make sense of the sensor data of that other dimensional shift, planar shift, whatever word we used for that. It wasn't like we were at warp 10 where we were everywhere at once. We sort of, whatever that other realm was, just sort of transplanted us. I mean, sir, we traveled over that can't be right. No, that is right. We traveled over 25,000 light years in a span of 30 seconds, sir.
If I was a religious man, I would be swearing to every deity within the system, but as it happens, I'm not.
Sometimes that helps.
Can we replicate that effect? Get us back to our starting point?
I highly doubt it, sir. Obviously, you know of my unique experience, but this kind of thing, we needed that star to pull this off. Unless we can find something similar or a wormhole, we're taking the long route home. Of course, other options may present themselves, but as Rian said, this was special.
So
Captain, I happen to have some expertise in planar dimensions and realms. What Samara is saying is true to a point. Difficult, but may not be impossible. In fact, I'm remembering reading a paper from a brilliant scientist from the, I guess, was it 150 years ago? I think his name was Stamets, and he was a mycologist, and he had some interesting ideas about this particular realm. If we look at their notes or his notes, maybe I might be able to come up with something.
Soldier's quiet for quite a few minutes, very still, composed, but obviously deep in thought. There's just this sense of an air of how could this just go so wrong? But he never says anything out loud. He keeps composed, and after a while, he takes a deep breath and he stands up. And so, Mr. Asrian, it seems that we will be reliant upon your data. I refuse to accept that we have to go through a similar journey to the USS Voyager. I refuse to accept that we're going to be lost in the Delta Quadrant. Get right on it.
Well,
we're not. This is not it. This is not what's happening. We will come together as a crew, and we will find a way around this.
I admire your confidence, Captain.
And if you happen to have any visions which might assist, please let me know.
I'm spending 2 threat, Asrian. You have a vision of a tribble falling on the captain's head in about 30 seconds. Oh, I spent momentum, not threat. Sorry.
That felt really, wow, that was trippy. Huh. Captain, move to the left to 2 meters.
Soldier takes a step to the left.
And
A little bit
harkening
more.
back to our bonus episode we did before the start of the game, there's kind of like a little warping of space, and out pops a blue tribble. And the blue tribble just falls to the deck and starts purring.
That is so cool.
Pick it up.
Samara, stay.
If you insist, Captain. Security, make sure to check all the conduits. We may have tribbles. Same for the engineering staff. General announcement. There may be tribbles aboard.
Hello, little creature. We probably should get you to the science lab.
And it
Yes,
makes little cooing noises.
No.
Oh, they are adorable, but they are ever so tasty. Why was it a
Vauban,
cruel universe?
would you mind holding this for me?
Sure.
I'll hand
She-
her Tribble.
She takes it and she looks at it. It's blue. Is that normal?
No, I don't know what normal means. I'm old enough to know that normal is a misnomer. Why don't you and I take that to the science lab, if your duties permit, and on the way, let's swing by Lieutenant Shifty's way. I think he could benefit from a few minutes from holding the Tribble too.
Sure. God, my mother is going to be so mad that I'm going to miss her birthday. This
I'm
is less
sorry to
than
hear that.
ideal.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
That ancient troll saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think as we pull out of the view screen of the
One
bridge and we
quick-
just see the Acheron moving along, I think that's where we're going to end today's session. So yeah, what'd you all think? I thought that was an amazing start to the series. I definitely want to see more of these characters, and yeah, I'm gonna have to practice Shifty's accent off screen because I started strong and then I went into French and then there was a little bit of some kind of British and the A was all over the place. So
Well, what if Shifty doesn't actually? What if they're just so multicultural that they've got a very shifted accent?
Exactly.
So their
Yeah.
accent is from something like Antarctica then. Like that, I'm not even kidding. Like that's a real thing where people live in the
Yeah.
Antarctic. They have their own unique accent that's kind of like a pigeon or a hodgepodge.
Because of so
Yeah,
many
yeah,
cultures
yeah, that
studying there.
happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe it's
I
from
mean-
some like super multicultural colony, and so therefore just has this really random accent. Maybe they've all got it.
Mm. Yeah,
Maybe
maybe his
it's
parents
stress.
ran they ran like an inn or something, and they had travelers from all over the galaxy.
Well, I guess we have lore for Shifty now. That was easy. Oh, Lord. All right. Well, Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody, but YouTube, we hope you had a good time. We'll see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube.